on behalf of KTM of Advanced Studies. Sir, can you hear me?
Sir, we can hear.
Okay. Many of them are not familiar with KTM College. KTM College established in 1976. Later, it's converted to, formerly it was Dharna Chatarbi College. Later, it converted to KTM College of Advanced Studies for widening the scope. This college has glorious history in providing quality education and exposure to its students. The aim of this institution molding the students with academical excellence and generating socially committed youth. KTM College of Advanced Studies conducts various workshops, seminars, guest talk every year based on various relevant topics, which is very relevant in the contemporary era. In this workshop, we mainly discussed on the pedagogical innovations. This is the second day of this workshop. First day, so Dr. Saji Kobana sir discussed on the topic impact of NEP on higher education system. And actually, NEP is the outline of the vision of Indian education system. It aims to replace or restructuring the Indian educational system, which is replaced by Indian educational policy in 1986. The aim of this policy is to prepare the next generation to thrive and competent in the new digital era or digital age. The main emphasis of NEP is on multidisciplinary, digital literacy, verbal communication, logical reasoning, and problem solving. I'm not taking much time to discuss the topic in detail. Dr. Mallikarjunappa sir here is very familiar in this topic. He is an apt person to discuss this area in detail. He does not require an introduction as he is very familiar in this field, especially in commerce and management. He has more than 35 years of research experience. More than 20 students were published theses under his guidance. He has a lot of publications in various reputed national and international journals, and he has membership in various bodies, editorial bodies of journals. And he has more than 40 years of postgraduate teaching experience. We are very blessed with your presence, sir. Before welcoming you, sir, I would express on behalf of KTM College, I would express our sincere gratitude for accepting our invitation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, sir, for receiving our request. First of all, I would like you, sir, to this program, and it will be a great feel and great experience with us. Okay, welcome you, sir. Dr. Mallikarjunappa sir is a very apt person, an eminent person to discuss the topic on interdisciplinary approach on NEP, on envisaged on NEP. As compared to traditional approach, interdisciplinary approach help the students to tackle the problems by using multidisciplines. Once again, I welcome you, sir, to this room. Abdul Majid sir, he is here, our principal of this college. I welcome you, sir, to this program. Ubaidur Rahman sir, senior most professor of our college. I welcome you, sir, to this program. Dr. Muhammad Aslam NK sir, QC coordinator is here. I welcome you all, sir, to this program. And I welcome all other colleagues and staff of this college to this program. Last but not least, I welcome all the delegates to this program. Actually, they are the well-wishers, and they depends how they behave in this session. Actually, they are the pillars, they are the pillars of this program. I am 100% sure that all you will feel enriched with knowledge after the completion of this session. To conclude, once again, I welcome you all. I hope you all find this workshop is highly engaging, beneficial, and fruitful for academic career. I welcome Dr. Mallikarjunappa sir to handle this session.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning. Is my voice audible, clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Your
sir.
voice is audible.
Okay. I have a small problem here. Hopefully it will not disrupt. There is no power supply. I have already charged the laptop enough, and also both I have charged. But from the morning, there is no power supply. Hopefully it will last till the entire session is over and the power will resume. So good morning, everyone. First of all, let me express my gratitude to KTM College of Advanced Studies for inviting me and asking me to share my thoughts on interdisciplinary approach as envisaged in NEP 2020. The principal of the college, IKSC coordinator, session chair, faculty members, senior professors, and all the participants who have taken your time to attend this session on NEP. The topic which I'm going to discuss is interdisciplinary approach and interdisciplinary programs as envisaged in NEP 2020. I will start with an example just to bring home how interdisciplinary approach becomes very relevant. When I was a student at the master's degree level, and master's degree, there was a compulsory dissertation, and therefore I carried on a dissertation on inventory management. I titled my dissertation as an integrated approach to inventory management. That was carried out in a company, automobile company. The title was an integrated approach to inventory management. Now, what is this integrated approach and what is this interdisciplinary? Why are we bringing in, and also the multidisciplinary approach to any education? Why are we bringing in all these concepts, and why NEP 2020 is emphasizing and then talking about these issues? And this is hotly discussed throughout the country. And therefore, it is relevant that as teachers who would be implementing all these things and then carrying on the mandate as per NEP 2020. And then we have two more, qualification framework and then national skills framework, skills qualification framework, then NEP 2020. All these things are looking into the ways in which the education system in India can be geared up to cater to the needs of the 21st century and beyond, not just the 21st century, but beyond 21st century. So if I go back to my example of my own dissertation, integrated approach, this is what is being emphasized in NEP 2020. And what is this interdisciplinary? Now, in the introduction that I have written, what I have tried to put forward in the dissertation is, it is not enough if the person who is entrusted with the responsibility of managing the inventory in a company, inventory consists of raw material, work in progress, finished goods, and all spares and other materials which are used not only in the manufacturing process, but in the entire organization, be at the central head office or the manufacturing plant or the warehouses or in transit, wherever they are. Now, if we talk about this integrated approach calls for taking into consideration what happens if you are trying to optimize, let's say, cost and maximize the revenue by neglecting the other disciplines. It is possible for an inventory manager to minimize the inventory cost. I emphasize the word minimize the inventory cost. But you have to ask the manager who is managing the inventory, you have to look at what happens if you are trying to minimize the inventory cost without looking into what would be the implications of that. I'll just give an example. Let's say purchase department has purchased the raw materials, manufacturing department demands the raw materials, and in our enthusiasm to minimize the inventory cost, I have not stored enough inventory and the manufacturing plant asked for the inventory raw material, but I don't have the raw material. And we describe the situation as stock out. Now, when the stock out happens, you have the entire production line waiting for you and entire, people who have been employed waiting for you, but there is no raw material. Now, I may have minimized the inventory cost, but I have not done justice to the entire organization because there are costs associated. Entire production line waits for you. People who are employed wait for you. And then the marketing department has been waiting for the finished goods to be marketed and then to be delivered to the customers. And they have not reached the customers. So as a manager who is managing the inventory, I have said it is not enough if you are minimizing the inventory cost, but what you should be doing is you should optimize. That is, when you are trying to optimize, you are trying to see what would be the implication of minimizing the cost in one, I would call it a silo, that is the department of a manufacturing organization, at the cost of other departments. For this example, entire production department is disrupted. Entire administration is disrupted because the marketing department is placing the orders for the finished goods, but then the finished goods are not delivered because the raw materials have not been delivered to the manufacturing unit. Then the entire marketing department waits for you. Then if you have a separate advertising wing, you have advertised for the products, created the awareness of your products. People are ready to buy, but you do not have these things ready stock. And the consequence is, if you don't have the ready stock of finished goods, customers may not wait for your product to arrive. They may switch over. When they switch over to the competitors' products, you have to understand what would it cost to the entire organization. So this is the example which I thought I would draw just to bring home how this integrated approach would help somebody to understand the implications of managing without considering the other disciplines. Now, one of the criticisms that has been leveled against the academicians and also the academic institutions today is you work in silos. You don't understand what happens to one department when you are trying to teach about one discipline. That is, you are trying to teach accounting separately, you are trying to teach marketing separately, you are trying to teach HR separately, maybe organizational behavior. All these courses that have been prescribed for a particular program, let's say MBA or BCom or BBA or any course, when you are trying to teach these papers, we teach the contents of these papers without integrating them to the organization as a whole. How is accounting as a course related to, let's say, finance? How is it related to HR? How is it related to OB? How is it related to, let's say, research methodology? How is it related to organizational behavior? So if you are taking an integrated view of this, you would be able to find a better solution to an organization problem rather than looking at the discipline of accounting as a standalone accounting. Accounting is just an example that I have taken. Since I'm in commerce and management, I tend to take management and commerce examples. If there are participants from other disciplines, you are most welcome to intervene and then give your own example. I'll give you the time for that. So with this example, let me now move on to what is envisaged in NEP. What NEP is trying to do is, NEP is advocating that a narrow specialization alone would not develop an individual, would not develop a discipline. You have to understand how each discipline is related to the other disciplines. And if you are bringing in the concepts from multi-disciplines and trying to integrate the knowledge, you would be able to produce a better citizen a student comes out with holistic education, and a student would be able to solve an organizational problem. It could be a societal problem or his own personal problems or any of these issues without looking at a single point of view. This is what is emphasized. Now again, NEP 2020 talks about this and says that this is not very new to the Indian culture, because the ancient universities that we had, Nalanda and Takshila, used this approach. And it is only subsequently that we started perhaps taking clue from the Western education systems, looking into the narrow disciplines, and then we branched out and said that I'm a science student, I'm a commerce student, I'm a management student, I'm an engineering student, dental student, maybe various disciplines. These from micro specializations have emerged, but the problems with the micro specializations is the people who have the knowledge of this micro specialization, they may be an expert in that very specific field. But unfortunately, what happens is when you are solving a problem, whether it is an organizational problem, societal problem, an individual problem, or any problem for that matter, it does not depend on only one disciplinary area. Micro specialization is not enough for us to approach a problem and find a solution to a problem. It could be a problem for the nation. It could be a problem for the entire society. Therefore, NEP 2020 draws examples from how our ancient civilization did not emphasize on micro specializations, but rather it took into consideration an approach which would welcome the knowledge from all the disciplines, knowledge from all the directions. And that is what NEP 2020 has been talking. Now, is it that we do not have this approach now? Perhaps as the teachers, you would understand, till 10th standard or SSLC, depending upon the nomenclature of the name that you have in different states, till 10th standard or SSLC, every student learns all the disciplines. You learn science, you learn arts, you learn maybe accounting related, quantitative related, all the disciplines we learn. But the problem here is, once you get out of your SSLC or 10th standard, you get into the silos, you get into the disciplines. And that is not wrong. Getting into the different disciplines is not wrong. But what is wrong is we forget that there are other disciplines and we have something to learn from other disciplines, and that learning from other disciplines will enrich my own specialization. This is something which we lack currently. If a teacher has understood, maybe there are teachers who would be able to integrate and also would be able to understand what is the benefit of having this type of an approach. I'm not saying that everybody is neglecting this, but in our enthusiasm to get into the specializations, we forget for the time being that we have something to learn from the other discipline, and that learning is more useful as an integrated knowledge than a very narrow specialization. So that is what is the problem currently. And NEP 2020 looks at these specializations that we have been having in the degrees. We have various degrees, computer science, we have a degree, and then for various disciplines, we have degrees. And these disciplines lack an integrated approach, lack interdisciplinary approach to education and multidisciplinary approach to education. I again emphasize, it's not that we are not at all aware of this. We are aware of this. And various states have implemented these things in different forms. But maybe it has not been brought as an umbrella form of education. I'll draw an example from what I am familiar with in Karnataka. At the degree level, graduate level, we have 3 specialization system. That is, if somebody is opting, let's say, science stream, they need to take 3 majors, maybe physics, chemistry, mathematics. Depending upon different combinations, we have various combinations. So physics is one discipline, mathematics is another discipline, chemistry is another discipline. A student has to take all these 3 majors. Similarly, if he gets into the art stream, he has various combinations of the subjects to choose. HEP, history, economics, political science, history, economics, sociology, history, economics, psychology, various combinations of subjects. And if you get into the commerce and management, we don't have this type of 3 major system, but we have drawn papers from different disciplines and incorporated those things into our own discipline. This is in the commerce and then management field. And again, if you get into the engineering again, we have got into narrow specializations. We have mechanical, we have IT, we have electrical, various other specializations, and that is true with most of the specializations. And what we are trying to do at the national level, that is the NEP trying to do at the national level, is they are trying to look at the approaches that various universities have been using, various colleges in the country have been using, and trying to see how best a multidisciplinary approach can be brought in, and then interdisciplinary approach can be brought in. This is what is emphasized. But one of the criticisms for this could be, by implementing the recommendations of NEP 2020, are we creating the graduates who are master of none, but then jack of all? He knows everything, but he doesn't know anything in a very specialized field, and therefore he doesn't fit in anywhere. So that is one of the criticisms that people have been leveling against this multidisciplinary and then interdisciplinary approach in NEP 2020. To answer that question, whether NEP 2020 does not talk about not specializing, it doesn't say you should not specialize. What it emphasizes, if you read all these lines very carefully, what it emphasizes is, we do emphasize on specialization, but then specialization is not at the cost of not knowing other disciplines and not bringing in integrated and interdisciplinary fields. NEP 2020 emphasizes that your specialization would be more enriched if you have an interdisciplinary approach, if you have a multidisciplinary approach. And that is what is emphasized. Now, what I'll do is I'll share the slides. I'll just go through the slides that I have prepared. We will also have some discussion, because it should not be going in a way I tell everything and then you listen to me. That should not be the case, because this is still in the implementation stage. I think criticisms are welcome, and then your own views are most welcome. So I'll share my screen. Just tell me whether you are able to view the screen.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Screen is visible, right?
Yeah, visible.
Okay, I'll put the slides. Whether the slides are visible now?
Visible, sir.
Okay. I'll make it full screen. Is it looking better now?
Yes.
Okay. Interdisciplinary programs as envisaged in NEP 2020. This is just a recap of the contents of NEP 2020. We have school education as part 1, and then higher education as part 2. School education, they talk from section 1 to 8, and then higher education, various issues relating to higher education, quality universities and colleges, institutional restructuring towards more holistic and multidisciplinary education. This is where our topic comes in. Optimal learning environment, motivated, energized, and capable faculty, equity and inclusion, then teacher education, then reimagining vocational education, catalyzing quality academic research, transforming regulatory system, then effective governance and leadership. Then other areas, professional education, adult education, promotion of Indian languages, technology use and integration, online and digital education. Then how do we go about implementing this? Strengthening the advisory board at the national level, then financing. They have been talking about 6% of the GDP should be spent on the education, but that is actually not happening. Then we have implementation and some of these things. Now, when we are talking about this interdisciplinary approach and multidisciplinary approach, NEP 2020 and any education system has this objective. Our job is to create holistic environment where a learner can make connections and integrate a diverse array of knowledge and skills by which our societies can flourish and live more pleasing lives. This, I like this particular class, and therefore I thought I would bring in. That is, by which our societies can flourish and live more pleasing lives. Interdisciplinary education is the backbone of National Education Policy 2020, and the Government of India has already started this process, and then various universities have been asked to implement this NEP. Approaches by various educational institutions have been different. They are not uniform, although you have a broad guideline that NEP 2020 has given, but still the approaches have been different. The concept of interdisciplinary education is not new to the world. As I was just telling, it's rather rooted in the long-standing tradition of our ancient education system that dates back to Vedas and then Puranas. Now again, interdisciplinary education is emphasized, and interdisciplinary approach draws from multiple disciplines to acquire a deep and thorough understanding of complex issues, synthesizing their contribution to understanding and then integrating these ideas into more complete, hopefully coherent framework of analysis. Now, why is it emphasizing interdisciplinary approach is we have seen the various societies going through the problems, nations going through the problems, and then the organizations going through the problems. And when these problems are being approached, you are trying to treat what is called as the symptoms. You are not trying to look at the basic roots from where these problems arose. Maybe for a nation, maybe for a society, maybe for an organization. So NEP 2020 talks about this. You should not be treating the symptoms, but you should be looking at the root cause of these things. when you look at the root causes of any problems that anyone is experiencing, you would understand that these causes cannot be treated and these problems cannot be treated by using one specialized knowledge. You have to bring in the various approaches. You have to have the human face when you are trying to minimize the cost. Maybe it is easy for an organization to say that we don't have adequate demand and therefore we are going to shed the man force. We are going to relieve everybody. It is easy for them to say. But the person who is sitting at the top echelons of the company need to look at the human face of what's going to happen. So the approach is the multidiscipline, and then what happens to the society if you are trying to retrench the employees, if you are trying to treat the organization as a standalone organization which exists for minimizing the cost and maximizing the profits for the owners of the company. So that's precisely what should be tackled. Don't look at only your company and then your approach of minimizing the cost. Look at the societal cost. What happens to the society? What happens to the entire maybe families which are dependent on the people who are likely to be retrenched? The concept of interdisciplinary education is not new, as I was just telling this. Now, why interdisciplinary approach? One major question that tickles the mind is, if the students are science or engineering, why do they need knowledge about history, geography, sociology, ethics, writing, and then design, various things? Shouldn't they just focus on the subjects that they will prepare them to get a job and live a wealthy life? Now, this is precisely what the current education system has been emphasizing. Current education system is strict on the disciplines, and students do not have freedom to shift from one discipline to another discipline. Again, I am emphasizing this is not true till 10th standard. Till 10th standard, we don't have this system of discipline and then student not being allowed. We have all that system. But after 10th standard, we have these things. For example, if a student has taken the art stream, he wants to learn mathematics, he is not given that opportunity. In an institution, it is possible that they may have thought of this and they may have introduced that type of a system. It is possible. I am not ruling out the possibility of an institution tackling this issue. That is possible. I have seen some institutions having these types of issues, cross-discipline. A student can take some subjects in art, some subjects in science, some subjects in engineering discipline. I have seen these institutions. But that is not widely prevalent. That's precisely what NEP 2020 wants to speak about. So when you see these types of an example, an institution giving this type of a liberty of cross disciplines, a student having one paper in arts, one paper in science, one paper in engineering, and he doing better when he comes out of the institution, if that is an example, then at the national level, we are trying to replicate these types of examples. That's precisely what the NEP is talking about. Now, the current educational approach reflects that a standard curriculum have been prepared for different disciplines, but increasingly, as all of us are seeing, the world is becoming more complicated. Students find it difficult to understand the diverse forms of knowledge and unable to make relations or connections between them. Since I come from, again, management, commerce, and then management field, I have studied something about the mergers and acquisitions. in mergers and acquisitions, when you bring in disparate organizations together, you have huge issues. The first issue starts from the cultural issues. People who come from one organization are not able to relate to the other organization person to person. So when you are trying to bring these organizations together, merge them and treat them as one entity, they are simply not able to integrate the diverse culture. Earlier, they were disparate organizations, but now it's a single organization, and therefore you should be able to work as a single organization. But there are any number of examples where there are billions of dollars involved in bringing the organizations together, but they disintegrate merely because culturally the organization is not surviving. Employees are not being able to adjust. They simply leave the organization, and therefore the mergers and acquisitions fail. This is one of the findings of the research on mergers and acquisitions. Why do mergers and acquisitions quite often fail? This is one of the papers that we have written along with my student. One of our findings is there are cultural differences between different organizations, disparate organizations that you bring in, and we are not able to integrate those culture when an organization becomes a single entity. Now, this is what is emphasized. You should be able to make a student understand that your own culture, although is unique, should be related to other cultures. You cannot say that my culture is superior to other cultures and therefore I can look down on somebody else. That type of an approach is not good for the integrated and again holistic development of the student. Needs of the future. NEP 2020 talks about 21st century, but it also says elsewhere that it looks beyond the current needs and beyond the 21st century. And when you are talking about the curriculum should also bring in various approaches. You would understand that when you are trying to integrate concepts for multidisciplines, that becomes a more enriching curriculum rather than bringing in my own narrow specialization oriented curriculum. So this type of an integrated model of learning, the knowledge, modes of inquiry, and pedagogies from multidisciplines are brought together within the context of single courses or the entire programs of study. It will be the job of teachers to enrich students to understand the connections between these disciplines and make the learning more holistic. I emphasize the teachers here because any number of education policy papers may come, but ultimately at the grassroots level, it is the teachers who are going to play a dominant role in shaping the careers of the students. Initially, when semester system was brought in from the years, say 1 year system, teachers were asked to frame the syllabus, but there were a lot of criticisms that you have simply divided this by 2 and made this is for semester 1, this is for semester 2. That is not the way in which the syllabus should be framed. Now, what is emphasized once again here is NEP 2020 places a lot of emphasis on the teachers. It is the teachers who are going to make the curriculum enrich and then make the entire learning of the students more integrated and more holistic. So if the teachers do not take this seriously, teachers do not understand the implications of interdisciplinary approach, bring in the concepts from multidisciplines and make a curriculum, ultimately NEP 2020 may not succeed if the teachers do not take this seriously. That is why NEP 2020 talks about this. Not only that, NEP 2020 emphasizes that teachers should be well paid. That's number one. And there should be continuous learning for the teachers. It's not that you acquire master's degree, then PhD, and then stop there. It should be a continuous learning process for the teachers to get an understanding of multidisciplinary knowledge and also interdisciplinary approach. So this is what is again and again emphasized, and they have brought in how do we educate the teachers on a continuous basis, how do we fund these things, how do we regulate, what would be the way in which the research would be funded. All those things are being talked about. Again, an integrated approach is emphasizing on creating good citizens. It's not that I'm creating a software engineer, I'm creating an accountant, I'm creating a historian. I'm creating an accountant, true, I'm creating a historian, true, but I'm creating a good citizen for the societies to live and the societies to thrive. The research has shown that integrated approach across disciplines might better prepare students for career, jobs, life, transform them into good citizens, and ultimately into blissful societies. I'm sure all of you would understand there are various societies which are going through excruciating times. And these problems are rooted in the individuals and then the groups of individuals which make the societies. Therefore, if the individuals are made good citizens, the subsequent problems would be taken care. This is what is being emphasized in NEP 2020. Ethical dimensions of writing software that collects people's personal data without their knowledge, or the importance of intuitive and aesthetic design in the engineering of a profitable smartphone, learning about biochemistry by creating sculptures based on the protein folding research, then developing deep understanding of neurobiology through the process of writing. All these things, they are emphasizing again and again that you need to take into consideration the implications of what you are trying to do. You could be a doctor, you could be a software engineer, you could be a design engineer. But unless you bring in the various disciplines and understand the implications of this, you will not be able to become a good citizen. Now, the teachers have the responsibility of preparing students for their success in career and also the life. And therefore, NEP 2020 again says that integrated approach in bringing in knowledge and then imparting skills in various disciplines. Maybe the teamwork skills, skills in ethics, critical thinking, ability to apply the knowledge to the real life situations, all these things. So these require interdisciplinary approach, because there can be numerical skills which we need to learn from the discipline of mathematics. There can be aesthetic skills which we can learn maybe from the humanities disciplines. There can be an engineering skill that we can learn from engineering. So a student should be able to acquire the knowledge in all these fields. That is what is being emphasized. Again, towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary approach, India has a long tradition, which I think I have just now told. There are examples which are given in NEP 2020 in terms of, the work of Banabhatta Kadambari, and then they are talking about 64 arts for not only the subjects such as singing, painting, scientific fields such as chemistry, mathematics, and all these things. And they have drawn this as an example to emphasize and bring home the fact that a multidisciplinary approach is necessary. Again, interdisciplinary approach will result in positive learning outcomes. Assessments of educational approach in the undergraduate education that integrate the humanities, arts, science with technology, engineering, and mathematics have consistently showed positive learning outcomes, including increased creativity and innovation, critical thinking, and higher order thinking capabilities. Various things, again, teamwork, communication skills, in-depth learning, mastery over curricula, etc., all those things. So drawing examples from the findings of various research, then the working of organization, NEP 2020 talks about these types of approach to bring in a holistic approach to the education. Again, holistic approach aim to develop all capabilities of human beings: intellectual, aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, moral, in an integrated manner. Again and again, this is what is required in the current society, because the problems of the societies and organizations do not have solutions in a single discipline, but they have solutions in multidisciplines. And therefore, they need to possess critical skills that are required for the 21st century capacities. So when we are talking about capacity building, carrying capacity, one of the carrying capacities that people have been talking is how knowledgeable people would be when they come out from an educational institution. Do we have the pool of the human resources who would be able to approach the society, nation, organization from various angles: arts, humanities, languages, aesthetics, professional, technical skills, vocation, all these things. So rigorous specialization in the chosen field and fields again is emphasized. Such a holistic education shall be, in the long run, the approach of all undergraduate programs, including those in professional, technical, and vocational fields. So an engineer should learn the soft skills. He should also learn something about how the entire society works. Higher educational institutions will have to move towards the multidisciplinary education. I was discussing again and again with my colleagues and various friends in Karnataka when we were trying to create the universities. Unfortunately, every bad example is copied by other states very fast. We have created, without naming any state, I would like to say that we have created the universities. University for a language, university for dance, university for music, university for engineering, university for dental, university for arts, university. So this type of an approach is an approach to create silos which will not serve the purposes of the society. In fact, in Karnataka, at one time, there was a thinking, and this proposal came before the universities, that a university should be created for a specific community. I was the dean at that time, and this we were asked to discuss and then give the report. University wanted positive report on that. There was a meeting, and then we had discussion. There were some people who were in favor of that. But when it came to my turn, I said, we are not going to serve the purpose, serve the cause of any community by creating a university for a community. We are going to isolate the communities which we are, I say, if we are creating the universities. And this is a bad tradition, and I do not want Karnataka to lead in this bad tradition. people at the higher level were not happy with our argument. Then they said, no, we need to create these, and then this is going to be the model university for the entire country. I told, no, I'm not in agreement with this. Let's not isolate the communities by creating the society, by creating university for a community. So we should welcome teachers from all communities, students from all communities. There should not be an education institution which will admit only a specific community. I oppose this. If you want to talk about reservation because there are people who are backward and then you need to give opportunity for them, yes, you please go ahead and then do it. But then if you say that I will admit only this community in this university, that's not good. So, of course, fortunately, that did not get implemented because of the opposition from different quarters. Now, imaginative and flexible curricular structure is something which is this type of an imaginative and flexible curriculum structure can come only when we are trying to bring in fields from disparate disciplines and trying to integrate them. So imaginative and flexible curricula will enable creative combinations of disciplines of study and would offer multiple entry and multiple exit points. I think Professor Shaji Gopinath has spoken about this multiple entry and then multiple exit points. I am in fact not a very big advocate of this multiple entry and then multiple exit, but of course the nation is talking about this. There is one merit in this multiple entry and then multiple exit. If a student is really having difficulty, he goes out maybe after a year, maybe after 2 years, and still carries something with him instead of going without any certificate or diploma or anything. That's the only merit. My only thing is, students should not make mockery of this process. I have a choice to exit. So after 1 year, I'll exit. After 3 years, I'll come back again. So we should not encourage the students to leave because there is a choice. If there is a dire need for the student to exit and then maybe takes a position in an organization, learns something there, and then comes back and tries to integrate how the learning there in that organization is related to what is being taught in an education institution, that's a welcome step. But I'm not sure whether that's going to happen. That is the purpose, but is that going to happen? Now, graduate level, master's degree level, and then doctoral level education in large multidisciplinary universities will provide rigorous research-based specializations, and they would provide opportunities for multidisciplinary work, including academia, government, and then industry. Now again, large multidisciplinary universities and colleges. For centuries, this was the case. Universities were multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary in nature. It is only in the 20th century that we started carving out institutions and naming them as universities. Universities for Sanskrit language, universities for a specific regional language, universities for music, various things. These types of narrow specialization-based universities will not serve the purpose of education. NEP has realized that. And therefore, we are trying to go back to the concept of university. If you understand the meaning of university, it should be the place where universal knowledge is being imparted, not a narrow specialized knowledge. So NEP talks about this. Large multidisciplinary universities and colleges will facilitate move towards high quality, holistic, and multidisciplinary education. Flexibility in curriculum. Professor Shaji Gopinath has emphasized this. A student comes from different disciplines, he is going to enroll not for the program but for the course, and then he says that I have enrolled and brought in so many credits, I have deposited all these credits into ABC, give me this degree, and that degree becomes his program of study. The enrollment currently is the program. He enrolls for BCom, he enrolls for MCom, he enrolls for MSc Mathematics. But here the student is enrolling for specific courses. He has that liberty of enrolling for the courses and then bringing them and says that I need this program. So that's what is being emphasized. This will be encouraged by increasing faculty and institutional autonomy for setting up curricula. Pedagogy will have an increased emphasis on communication, discussion, debate, research, and opportunities for cross-disciplinary and interdisciplinary thinking. Now again, higher education institutions need to establish interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary departments. Now, these departments will not be very specialized departments like a department for mathematics, department for statistics, department for Malayalam. They are not going to be that multidisciplinary departments. That is what is being emphasized and again advocated in. Credits will be given in all bachelor's degree programs for those subjects if they are done from such departments or through open distance learning mode when they are not offered in class at higher educational institutions. Flexible and innovative curricula for all higher education institutions shall include credit-based courses and then projects. Again, they are talking about universal human values of truth, righteousness, peace, love, non-violence, and then scientific temper, citizenship values, and then the life skills. So these need to be imparted from by the education institutions. And today, UN has been talking about the environment and then conserving the environment for the future societies. Now we have come to a stage where somebody has to tell that we need to conserve the environment. That means the culture of conservation of their own immediate environment is not integrated and imbibed in the individuals. That is why we have created larger problems at the level of universe. And therefore, we have summits that take place. Earth Summit at Rio, all roads lead to Rio. And Davos, various places. Now we are talking about this at the international level. This type of a problem would not arise if an individual is consciously conserving the environment, conserving the resources. And that needs to be imbibed into the students from the higher education institutions. That's what is emphasized in NEP 2020. Participation in community service. When I was discussing with some of my colleagues, I was just telling, many times I used to tell this in some of the meetings, that all the teachers in the colleges and higher education institutions like the universities should be made to work occasionally in the agricultural fields and also in various other activities. We should be working with those. Now, it's not that we want to punish. My idea is not to punish the people, but we would be able to relate ourselves with the people much better if we try to go maybe to the agricultural fields and work with them for some time. You would be able to understand them only when you realize that there is a person who has been working for 12 hours, but he is not getting even one glass of water to drink because there is a huge water problem. But in the universities, we have ample water. You would be able to realize conservation of water resources better when you go and work with a person who is not getting a glass of water, working in an agricultural field for 12 hours a day. I was telling, but of course, that's not a realizable dream, but I always felt we should be doing some of these things. Participation in community service. NEP 2020 talks about this global citizenship education. Now again, multiple exits and then multiple entry. If you have questions on this, I can come back to these questions. After first year, you get certificate. After second year, you get diploma. After third year, you get the degree. After fourth year, you get the honors. And if you have the honors degree, you make a lateral entry into second year of master's degree. If you exit after the end of third year, you get into the 2 years master's degree. And again, at the master's degree, if you exit after 1 year, you will get the postgraduate diploma. If you complete 2 years, you will get the master's degree. Again, at the PhD level, there are two entries for the PhD level. One is the lateral entry. One can go to the PhD level after 2 years of master's degree or after 4 years of this bachelor's degree program with honors. For example, if somebody has done, let's say, become honors, he can directly enroll himself or herself with the PhD. It is already being implemented. This is not something which is going to happen after a few years. It is already there. Students who come out with 4 years degree, they can directly apply for a PhD program. Engineering students go through 4-year discipline. They can directly apply for a PhD program. IIMs, when they call for the PhD program, they are already admitting the candidates with 4 years degree, engineering degree. But of course, honors degree, we have not yet come. Again, honors, we are bringing in 4-year degree. Let me emphasize, this is not a new 4-year degree. I studied in a college in Mysore. That was the University of Mysore itself earlier, but now, of course, the University of Mysore has moved to Manas Gangotri. This is Maharaja's College. This is the college where we had about 52 different combinations of different disciplines. You talk about any subject, you have different combinations, 52 different combinations for the students to choose. So various combinations. You know, here there is a song in Kannada. So I was trying to ask some of my teachers. The song in Kannada talks about the students spending 4 years in Maharaja's College. That is, I'm not talking about master's degree, at the graduate level. So I was not able to understand because we have enrolled for the graduate level and that graduation is for 3 years, but this song speaks about 4 years degree. Then they told, see, this degree itself was 4 years. It was BA honors, BSc honors, BCom honors, but now in the recent times, it has been made to 3 years. So this honors degree was there earlier. And NEP 2020 has drawn these examples of the institutions which had successfully implemented and then brought out, in fact, world-class citizens. So again, UG and PG programs of different durations, 3 years, 4 years, and then 5 years. 5 years would be integrated. Just now I told you, if you have questions, I can come back to this. Then you have model public universities for holistic and multidisciplinary education on par with IITs, IIMs, etc., called MIRUs, Multidisciplinary Education and Research Universities, will be set up. And these education institutions are supposed to attain the highest global standards in quality education. They will also help set high standards for multidisciplinary education across India. Again, they are talking, this is emphasized again and again, all education institutions should have incubation center, technology development centers, centers in frontier areas of research, greater industry, and then academic linkages. Now, implementation is not without challenges. Challenges are there. The first challenge, I would say, come from the teachers. The teachers will have to shoulder larger responsibilities, because if you have to integrate knowledge from disparate multi-disciplines, lot of learning has to take place at the teacher level before you advocate this to the student. And therefore, the challenge comes from the teachers themselves. And the teachers would be real instrument for teaching students and help them understand connections and relationship between diverse forms of human knowledge, and impart them the expertise to apply that knowledge in solving real life problems. Now, what names would these programs carry? UGC has been telling that you should not be coming out with very narrow type of degrees, master's degrees, like for each discipline, a particular degree. Normally, the nomenclature of the degree would be that they are standardizing. Here, their approach has been standardization, standardizing. If you have certain, degrees, it would be called as maybe MA, MSc, and if there is a need for any specialization there, that would be mentioned in brackets. That's the way the program names will come. Again, the student has the liberty of registering for the courses, may not be primarily for the program, but by virtue of registering for the courses and accumulating credits for so many courses, he will have the liberty of demanding that he should be getting the degree from this program. So that's it from my side. And I would, if we have time for discussion, I would welcome discussion. Sir, do we have time, some time for discussion?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's time to take the queries. Participants are requested to raise your queries. So regarding this
this particular approach which the university NEP has been talking, it shoulders a lot of responsibility, especially on the teachers. Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
sir.
sir.
So this, Rashid here, sir.
Yeah.
So we can think about the combination of economics and management, then the combination of economics and mathematics, that we can think about. But see, so what will be the outcome when we combine mathematics, commerce and material science, and commerce and physics?
Now to start with, I think I'll stop sharing the screen. Okay.
Okay.
Now it's not that NEP makes it mandatory for you to relate to every discipline. What it emphasizes is, you are talking about, let's say, material science. Do we have, as management graduates or commerce graduates, something to learn from material science? Answer for me is yes. If the management graduates, commerce graduates are going to occupy positions in an organization, you need to understand the characteristics of the materials which get into the production process and comes out as the finished goods. And these are the materials, the finished goods which the consumers are going to consume. So what is the content of this? What are the characteristics of this? If you have an understanding of these things, you would be able to design your policies in a much better way. So what NEP emphasizes is, even if it is remotely related, you should know about these things rather than having narrow specialized knowledge without knowing anything from other disciplines. So few years back, it was unthinkable for anybody to say that commerce has something to learn from, let's say, from computer science. Today, commerce and management graduates cannot afford to say that I do not know anything about computer science, I do not know anything about the softwares and all these things, because the research relies so much on what is happening in computer science, so much. It relies so much on the softwares that are coming out. So therefore, if you have an understanding of this, you would be able to learn it better. I'll give one more example. You have worked on these things. We have been using R software and then SPSS, then maybe eViews and all these things. Most of our researchers get the output from all these softwares. But what happens in this before this output is generated? We can understand this if we know mathematics behind that, statistics behind that, and then the entire working through your softwares. That is a person who creates an algorithm for this. So NEP 2020 talks about having knowledge of all these things rather than getting only the output of this. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. If so, the preparation of curriculum will be a challenging task, right, sir?
Yes, it is. It's a big challenge, I tell you. It's going to be a very big challenge, because first is preparation of curriculum. You go and approach various colleagues. You may prepare, but who is going to impart that knowledge? You cannot say that, okay, for this particular thing, I'll call the chemistry person. For this particular thing, I'll call the physics person. For this, I'll call the mathematics person. That is going to be a big problem. So we are emphasizing on a graduate who would be able to integrate all these things into one course. To start with, yes, we need the help from all these people.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. I am Meghna from NSS College, Karamana, related to
Yeah.
Kerala University. See, when we introduced the subject Business Max into this commerce domain, that is BCom, the students found it very difficult to study the subject because, first of all, they don't like max. That's why they are coming for commerce. So, like this, I think when we think of interdisciplinary, a lot of issues will be people initially, because the people who are because we are not used to that system of studying and learning, and again any person who is from some other domain, science domain, studying arts, there is not much what should I say, people are not giving that much of importance to that, or they are not recognizing. Even government also not trying to give support for that. Support in the
Yeah.
sense, it's like an unusual thing happening. Even with this regarding this max subject, that's what the problem. See, it's like we want to teach them, but most of them don't like to grasp that thing. So
Okay.
what
Let,
do you say
let,
about?
yeah, let me address this. What your concern is really true, because the students feel that we have come to commerce since we did not like the science. Now, this is not what is expected in the future education. Now, a student has gone through the elementary mathematics up to SSLC. And what we have introduced at the BCom level is nothing more than what they have learned up to SLC. At the BCom level, if you are talking about, let's say, business mathematics, you are talking about the interest, compound interest, simple interest, present value, future value, and then maybe how do you calculate EMIs, that is equated monthly installments, various other things, maybe some knowledge about surds, indices, logarithms. These are some things which the students have gone through till 10th standard. But unfortunately, because of the narrow specializations and then not integrating our disciplines into the various learnings that has taken place up to SSLC, the student tend to forget what he has learned up to 10th standard. He has learned biology, he has learned chemistry, he has learned physics, he has learned computer science, he has learned statistics, he has learned mathematics, but he simply forgets because he enters into commerce field. Now, this should not happen. That learning has to be carried forward from where he has, maybe up to SLC he has learned. And please understand, NEP again at the national level, NEP has emphasized, and the government of India also has this policy. We are going to see the disruption in the higher educational setup because we will be allowing, our nation would be allowing international universities and then the colleges to come and set up their establishments here. I still remember Rahul Bajaj leading the Bombay Club in 1990s when Dr. Manmohan Singh became the finance minister of this country in 1991 May, after Narasimha Rao became the prime minister of this country. Manmohan Singh unleashed, various measures to liberalize the country, and Rahul Bajaj started leading Bombay Club, and he spoke about level playing grounds. Now, Indian industry is not prepared to withstand the challenge and competition thrown out by these international players. That's precisely what's going to happen in the educational space. When we allow all these higher education institutions from across the world to come and compete, then the higher education institutions have to gear up for these things. Now, if we have to gear up, naturally we have to introduce into this, and the students will get used to this. It's not that these ideas are very new for them. They have forgotten, but we are reminding them that you should not be forgetting. You please go back and then refresh. I think as teachers we should be doing. I fully accept, my own students have come and told, at the MCOM level also we are experiencing, the moment you write an equation, then they switch off. It may not be electrical switch off, but they refuse to listen. That is true, but that's going to change, and we should be that change agents. Madam, I don't know whether I answered your question or not, but that's going to be the reality.
Yes, sir. Okay, very true, very true.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
First problem comes from the teachers, not from the students, I would say.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Is such an approach prevalent in any country, known to you, in any European country or the West? This multidisciplinary approach?
I could not hear the question.
Sir, is this system prevalent? Is this approach prevalent in any other country? Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah. It's clear to me. It's clear.
No, my question is this approach or is this multidisciplinary system prevalent in any European country or the West?
I understood the question. I taught in Warsaw University.
Okay.
Can you please mute, because there will be echo if two people are. Yeah. I taught in Warsaw University. When I offered a course in Warsaw University, I was asking the office people, you please give me the curriculum, I'll take a look at it. And then I'll tell you whether I can offer this course or not. Then the office people told me, so there is no curriculum. Then I discussed with the teacher. Normally they assign one, when we go there, normally they assign one professor to a professor from abroad. So I discussed with that professor. Then he said, our approach is entirely different. We don't have the curriculum. What do you mean by curriculum? You have to set the curriculum. You have to say, this is the content of the curriculum. This is how you're going to assess. This is your expectation. And we are going to put this on the notice board. And based on what you are putting on the notice board, your curriculum, content, and all these things, the students will decide whether they would take your course or not. No, I did design a course and then I taught there. Then after a few days, there was some notice board which I saw, and there was some very interesting talks in English literature department. So I thought I would attend this class, this professor's class. I went and attended that class. I saw some of my students sitting in that class. So 2-3 other departments, when I went for some interesting lectures, I saw some of these students sitting there. And when I asked them, they said, sir, I am taking one course here. They are taking some courses in management faculty. They are taking some courses in literature. They are taking some courses in economics. And these departments, they are not on the single campus. They have campuses in different places in Warsaw. They move around these different places and they get what are called as the credits. As a teacher, I assess the students, I assign the credits, and they accumulate this credit. So it is already prevalent. It's not that this is for the first time we are bringing in. This is already prevalent. And, their concept is a student should have the liberty of choosing something that is interesting to him. So why are you preventing a management graduate from taking a course in literature, from taking a course in yoga, from taking a course maybe in economics, all these things? So this is already prevailing. And they also have the system of bringing in this credit. They call it as European system of credit transfers. And this credit transfer is very well accepted. And maybe tomorrow you have Amitabh Bachchan. You could also put this question to him. He would be able to elaborate it more better because he's teaching in France. And he's teaching in France for years. I taught there for only one term in Warsaw. And I know that this is prevalent. And there is no examination system. There is no controller of examination. Nobody is there. It is the teacher who sets the syllabus, curriculum, everything. What does the student do? What student registers for these types of courses? So it is prevailing already.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir? Sir,
Yes,
I have a question. Sir, it's okay for a student to learn from other disciplines also. It will enrich his knowledge domain, of course. But what will be the demand side? When we look at the job providers, will there be recommend such a student to take a position in their firm in which he is not specialized, but he has learned only some parts of that particular area? Then what will be your opinion on this point, sir?
Yeah. One of the criticisms I made a mention of this without elaborating. Are we creating the graduates who are jack of all but master of none? That is the question. And when the organizations ask for somebody like an accountant or a software engineer or any of these things, if we are creating the graduates with all disciplines, not having knowledge of all disciplines, but not having any specialized knowledge in any discipline, will they be in demand? NEP addresses this question and says that they are not saying that you should forego specialization. You should. Demand side, yes, you require somebody who is a chemist, somebody who is a physicist, somebody who is a software engineer. Therefore, specialization is emphasized. But a person with that specialization should have an integrated view of all the subjects, not just that subject. That means major emphasis, more number of credits will come from the area in which he is going to specialize, but he has to accumulate credits from multidisciplines. That is what is emphasize for him to understand that this has these types of problem solving issues. So specialization is not going to be given up. Specialization would be there, but the approach is going to be, you are not going to narrow specialization and study everything only in that specialization. You will study others, but emphasizing on your specialization.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
But of course, the government side need to gear up, because we are talking about all these things, and then when we give some new degree, government should not be saying that this degree is not acceptable, because we already said that only BCom with this is acceptable, and this type of a subject is not acceptable. So that needs to be tackled. I think the systems have been put in place to address these issues.
Sir, I have a question. Sir,
Yes, please go ahead.
how can I ensure the quality while we are doing dual courses in same time?
The ensuring quality, it is first, it is the responsibility of the teacher who is offering that course and teaching that course. Then to put the system in place, it is the responsibility. NEP again puts responsibility on the colleges. Till now, it is the universities which will set the syllabus, and then the syllabus need to be followed uniformly from all the affiliated colleges. Gradually, the system of affiliation, NEP says, is going to go. Now, it is the higher education institution, if it is a college, autonomous college, or any of these things. Right now, autonomous colleges have the liberty of setting their own syllabus and setting their own standards. And emphasis in the years to come would not be the syllabus from the universities, but this is going to be the responsibility of the colleges, respective colleges. There will not be a single agency like the University Board of Studies, which will give you and you are going to follow. This is not going to happen, because they are going to throw up the challenges to the educational institutions by way of opening up this for the foreign competition. So when this happens, the institutions have the responsibility. The teachers who are in these institutions have the responsibility of ensuring that their graduates are of the required standards. Your concern is true. There can be institutions which might simply give the degree without maybe properly testing. But those types of institutions would find it extremely difficult in the years to come to survive. Your concern may be the students would find it more easy to go to a teacher who will give very high credits without properly examining. That's not going to happen in the years to come when you have the competition and when they understand that this person doesn't have enough knowledge but still gets the higher credits.
So there's a chance for subjectivity of the teacher.
Yeah, certainly, because when the entire responsibility is given to the teachers, there is subjectivity. And let me also tell you this, isn't subjectivity there when we are evaluating somebody else's answer papers? We are evaluating somebody else in some other education institution writes, and we are called as evaluators, and we sit in a centralized place, and the entire identity of the students are masked, and you are asked to evaluate. There is a lot of subjectivity in our evaluation also, but the identity of the students are not known to you, but subjectivity is still there. But
Sir, one more question.
Here the challenge would be that subjectivity has to be explained to the student. Now, when I was a student in Maharaja's College, in the first semester, after first semester results were announced, the teachers gave our answer papers. Now, the teacher who taught English, professor who taught English, a very famous professor, he came to our class, distributed the answer papers, and then said, "This is the first time I have seen somebody, scoring 73 marks out of 75 in English. That is English language." That student is from our class, and this is the girl who was sitting just adjacent to me. I was seeing her writing the answers. She is very cool. I was struggling to finish all those things, but she finishes almost 15-20 minutes before the examination, reads the entire thing, and leaves the hall 5 minutes before. And this is the girl who got the highest marks in English. So when the answer papers were distributed, and he told she gets the highest for the entire college of 4,000, 5,000 students. People were doubting. She is super intelligent. Then we asked, "Sir, can we see the answer papers?" He said, "Yes, you take." And we asked her, "Jayalakshmi, can you give your answer paper?" She gave. And I was really surprised to see the way in which she has written the answer so neat, so beautifully, and there is no scratch, no strike off, wonderfully written. And I cannot do that sitting alone, not in the examination condition, but at home. So beautifully written. So the students have the choice of challenging you as a teacher. You have given so much, but you have given this much to me. So please explain. This is what is emphasized again. Yeah.
Sir,
Yes, please.
okay.
Please
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Sir, I have one more question.
Please go ahead.
Sir, how can you ensure an equity to the old regime students? They didn't get this opportunity, such an opportunity to do such things. How we can ensure an equity to the old regime students?
Yeah, this issue is also being addressed. I think partly this question was answered by Professor Shaji Gopinath in yesterday's session. It is true that we have students from diverse backgrounds, from economic, social, and all these backgrounds, including the village setup and infrastructure. All these issues, they are there. Now, ensuring equity, how do we ensure that? In fact, they are talking about financing higher education and then the scholarship to the deserving education, deserving students, all these things. Then they are also gearing up the credit dispensing agencies like the banking institutions, financial institutions, to come out with the schemes for giving loans to these higher educational institutions. The scholarships, they're already prevalent. Scholarships are already prevalent. But NEP talks about setting aside 6% of GDP for higher education. If that really comes true, I think the needs of some of the people who cannot afford education, and then this issue of equity. In terms of financial need, it may be taken care. But in terms of Gitanjali, I'm in a session. Maybe I'll maybe after 10.
And then I'll call you after sometime, sir.
Yeah, maybe.
I completed with my session, sir. That's all.
Okay.
I'll call you after.
15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you call me.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
I'm sorry for this disturbance. My student went to NIT Jalandhar to appear for a PhD interview. She was calling. Therefore, I just thought if it is urgent, I'll attend. Okay. Yeah. Yes. This equity issue is being addressed in NEP 2020 by way of, setting aside certain resources for scholarships for these types of students. That's number one. Number two, again, credit dispensing agencies would be geared up for this. And of course, the higher education institutions themselves have the responsibility of setting aside certain amount of fund for these types of responsibilities. So we need to do all these things together. Did I answer? It's more easy to answer the question. In reality, problems will prevail. I understand.
Thank you, sir. Hope no more questions from the participant side.
Okay.
Now, I request Dr. GSK to deliver the vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Rashid sir. Dear participants, we have come to the conclusion of today's program, which was led by Dr.T. Mallikarjunappa sir. As all of us know, NEP provides that much of flexibility to the students to do the specialization along with studying some other areas. Of course, this was not possible in previous education system. When a student was not able to continue his or her study, he would have to drop the study altogether. That was the story earlier. And now this system provides better opportunities to the students to pursue new levels of education. Anyway, I think you would have understood all these things from yesterday's and today's sessions, and from the discussions so far made in today's session, we know that this is really a topic which is not going to be over in just 1 or 3 days discussion. We need to discuss various aspects of NEP again in future. Anyway, my duty is to express vote of thanks to the resource person and to the participants. And Mallikarjunappa sir has really explained all the concept, and he has given us a crystal clear details of the integrated approach and the interdisciplinary approach. Anyway, thank you, sir. On behalf of IQAC and the KTM College of Advanced Studies, Karuvaragundu, I express my sincere thanks and gratitude for being with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And last but not least is the participants. You are the real beneficiaries of this program. So once again, thank you for joining with us in today's session. And we hope to see you all again in tomorrow's session. Tomorrow, Dr. Amitabh Anand is taking the session on pedagogical innovations and the students' outcome. He is an associate professor in Australia Business School, France. So hope to see you all again tomorrow. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Jia sir, and thank you, Mallikarjunappa sir, for the wonderful session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all. I'll exit now. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Okay.
Oh, it's fine. Fine. Thank you.